Good day, Nigerians, wherever you are and wherever you're listening in from and joining us this wonderful moment. Yesterday, we received an unsurprising outcome from the Supreme Court. Unsurprising because everything, the body language, the programming of themselves, the way they gathered the system, and the means with which they did what they did suggests that it would have been a surprise if something justifiable had happened. It would have been surprising if justice had occurred yesterday. So when justice was murdered yesterday, when democracy was hung yesterday on the cross, Nigerians were not surprised. We were indeed not surprised. However, it did not come without consequences. And that is beyond whether they did what they should have done, beyond whether the Supreme Court compromised themselves, beyond whether they double spoke, having said what was the law in the other precedent cases, and decided to say what is not law in order to protect and to, endorse their person. It came with consequences. Like they say, election have consequences. Now, so what are we trying to say here today? We are here to analyze the consequences, the implications, and the other aspects that, despite what they did yesterday, could not cover. They thought they have succeeded in making someone a president. Well, it is not just about making someone a president. It's all about, if you've made the person a president, and so what? What does that portend? What would that bring? What have you ended up doing? What is the consequences of what these men have done to themselves as human beings, to their profession, to the legal profession, to the judiciary? What is the implications of this to Nigeria in terms of our economy, in terms of our bilateral relationship with other nations? What of the perception that other countries have about us? These are the consequences. Now, today we are going to be delving into many areas. First, part of the things we're going to bring to us this afternoon is the fact that despite bringing forward the judgment of the Supreme Court in order to avert the influence or the effect of what the FBI and IRS and DEA and CA files will do, they've ended up not achieving anything, because those files will still be reviewed. In fact, as a matter of fact, it's probably going to be reviewed from next week, Monday, and the effect will still occur. David Hundeyin will be here with us telling us exactly, not based on feeling, but based on the information he has, being that he's a party to the suit in the US. He will be here to tell us the timeline about everything. The likes of Dele Farotimi are here to tell us what ordinarily would have been happening if not for the fact that we have a human being that we can't describe in the person of Peter Obi. Nigeria should be thankful to such a man, because if he was the man who lost election indeed in 2011, you remember somebody lost in 2011. They did not cheat him. He lost woefully in 2011 and blood was flowing. But this time around, someone was robbed broadly today and the nation is calm. Thank God for someone like Peter Obi, and Dele Farotimi will actually define it well for us. And of course, myself and the like of Kenneth Okonkwo, we're going to be bringing in the perspective that indeed shows that these men lied. They didn't do what they should do. They were bought over. But that will not come without us, first of all, giving you a little background of this decay that is in our judiciary. It did not start today. It is not these people that bought over the judiciary. These people only capitalize on a judiciary that have been defeated for decades and then harped on it. I would like us to start by asking Informa to bring up the headline of a news bulletin of this as far back as 1999. This was the headline of the news magazine, exclusive. It's called Crooks on the Bench, an expose on the rot in the judiciary. This headline did not come out today. If someone is able to edit the date of this particular headline and replace it with 26 November 2023, it will fit perfectly. It will fit perfectly. But Nigerians, can you believe that this is a 24 years old headline? And who were the people that surround the news then that made this particular headline occur? It is the same people that are holding on to power today. It was the outcome of the struggle by Gani Fawemi in the case of yours truly, the same person we are talking about today, and how the system was able to manipulate the judiciary. That is what we are suffering. And how do I mean? As far back as then, the case of this forgery we are talking about got to the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Remember our topic today, part of our topic says how the judiciary has been undermining democracy in Nigeria. Gani Fawemi fought up to the Supreme Court alongside Festus Keyamo. Festus Keyamo was one of the lawyers then that was fighting for this. And all of us were hailing Festus Keyamo during that period. And what happened? The Supreme Court ruled. They ruled with their subtle ruling. Subtle in the sense that they were not here or there. And how did they rule? The Supreme Court ruled that this issue of forgery should be thoroughly investigated. And they mandated the police to investigate it. Howbeit, there was a clause there. They say when the police find the time. And so since then till now, the police has not found the time. The Supreme Court has not had any reason to ask the police, why haven't you people investigated this case? And this journey has continued and kept on eroding our democracy up until this moment today. And what happened is that it has so magnified itself that the fingers of this evil happen to have been holding every facet of our democracy today. If only the some 21 years ago, some 22 years ago, and face this thing squarely, probably Nigeria will not be where it is today. One of the cases, Supreme Court handled this case in two ways. Number one way is that the Supreme Court said the case of this same person should not be investigated further because he's now under immunity as a governor. And the other side, the Supreme Court also ruled, oh, it is okay for this thing to be thoroughly investigated by the police if they have time. Can't you see the giving a lifeline to the person, giving a lifeline to this seed to nurture, and the seed has nurtured, grown, blossomed, bared fruit, and it is all over. Even though the Supreme Court endorsed this thing yesterday, finally, look at the number of people that the appeal court have thrown away because of certificate forgery in this electioneering process. Need I tell us, Nigerians, that all those people did it because the big man can succeed with it? That's why they are doing it. That is why it's so rampant. Okay, but let's move on further. If you backtrack to 1993, 1993 happens to be 30 years today. It was the judiciary that truncated our democracy. the judiciary. People bought over the judiciary. And while NEC, National Electoral Commission, then under Professor Nwosu, was calling out the result, which over TOFA, midway, they stopped the counting of and the announcing of the results. A high court judge truncated our democracy. And that was how the military continued in power from 1993 to 1999, 29th May 1999. We managed to wriggle out of it and started our democratic journey again in 1999. 20 men again swooped into the democracy with their forgery, with their lies. The like of Ganifa Wemi started the journey of seeing how we can clean up our democracy. Evan Enwerem went under because of forgery, where there is inconsistency in whether his name is Evan or Evans. Salisu Buhari went down. That was Senate President gone. Speaker for the House of Representatives gone. But the man who was sitting using the cover of immunity as a governor remained. And he remained and have now, transmuted himself from a governor undercover to a president because of what? The judiciary enabled it. The judiciary kept on creating an escape route. The judiciary keep making it comfortable for such people, for such a person to survive till today. Despite all we saw from Chicago State University, despite the explicit truth, I am glad that the judges, they admitted, but they now begin to go technical. Oh, Chicago State University finally did not write to say they didn't write another letter, aside from the one that is on the deposition. Oh, there is a certain kind of signature or stamp they did not. Can you imagine how this man ruled? But I am happy. I am happy because what they ended up doing yesterday is to say the issue of this forgery is not a concluded matter. They still left it open for anybody who have the ability to keep pushing for it, even though by reason of the fact that this person is now a president, immunity covers him. But there are other ways, which you're going to see today. But then we continued again on how the judiciary have been undermining our democracy. You remember the name James O. Ibori? James O. Ibori, somebody went to court to challenge that James O. Ibori is not fit to be a governor. Why? Because he has been imprisoned in the UK for a crime. And our Supreme Court, the case got to the Supreme Court. Our Supreme Court ruled that they don't know whether the Ibori is on an affair that is the governor or another one. Can you hear that? And that was how that person eventually governed Delta State, an economy that is bigger than Togo, an economy that is bigger than Niger Republic. He governed Delta State for 8 years. And whilst he was there for that 8 years, we know how he robbed Delta State dry. It took a UK court when the Nigerian judiciary cleared him of all offense, cleared him of all crime. Even when the issue of his name got cleared, all the money he stole in Nigeria whilst he was a governor, this current national security advisor, who was the EFCC chairman then, Nuhu Ribadu took him to court. The courts in Nigeria, the judges in Nigeria cleared him. They cleared him of all offense. It took the UK courts to find him guilty and imprison him. It took the UK court, that is to tell us how the judiciary have been undermining our democracy, making it impossible for responsible men to ascend to power. Peter Obi is not president today, not because he did not win, but because he's a good man. Because he does not use thugs, because he does not lie, because he does not buy judges. That is why he's not the president today. Because he will not go to the chambers of the judges and say, how we go do them now? That is why our democracy is walking backwards. Because the enablers, the endorsers, the confirmers are the judiciary. And when they hit the gavel, what it means is that it's like they use the nail and pin evil on us as our leaders, and pin bad men on us as our leaders, and say, you people must continue to suffer under these people that you people don't even want to rule you. What the judiciary have been doing is to impose on us men we don't need. And what the judiciary did yesterday is to say, as long as you can grab it and run with it, especially at the level of presidency, nobody can stop you. The office of the presidency in Nigeria is up for grab for anyone who have the highest thugs, who can buy, who have more money to bribe his way, to shoot his way, to fight his way, to grab it, to run for it. That's what the judiciary endorsed yesterday. You know how I know? Please, Ifeoma, can you show me the slides of the Supreme Court statement with respect to 2022 electoral law? This is what the Supreme Court said in May this year, just about 4 months ago, in the case of Oyetola versus Adeleke. Using the same electoral act of 2022, listen to Supreme Court. It says, regulations provide the beavers to be used to scan the completed results in Form EC8A and transmit or upload. This is the Supreme Court talking here. Transmit or upload the scanned copy of the polling youth result to the collation system and INEC result viewing portal, IREV in bracket. This is Supreme Court. Regulation 38 of the regulation reads thus. 38. On completion of the polling units, voting and result procedure, the presiding officer shall, means the rest of the things that will happen now are mandatory. Mandatory. 1, electronically transmit or transfer the result of the polling units direct to the collation center as prescribed by the commission. 2, use the beavers to upload a scanned copy of the EC8A to the INEC result viewing portal as prescribed by the commission. 3, take the beavers and the original copy of each of the forms in tamper evident envelope to the registration area or ward collation center officer. In the company of security agents, the polling agents may accompany the presiding officer to the RA/ward collation center. This is what the Supreme Court wrote with their typewriter when they were judging on the issue of Oyetola versus Adeleke in May 2022. But in the case of the presidency, they completely jettisoned it. There's a second file. There's a second file about this again, if you can show me. Good. Regulation 48. An election result shall, let's change it to must, which is the legal term. An election result must only be collated if the collation officer ascertains that the number of accredited voters agree with the number recorded in the beavers and votes scored by political parties on the election result sheet is correct and agrees with the result electronically transmitted or transferred directly from the polling unit as prescribed in these regulations and guidelines. So there are 4 documents, 4 data that a collation officer must use: the physical result, the physical beavers, the transmitted result, and the transmitted accreditation data. The law says the collation officer must only continue if these 4 things agree. In this election, they did not agree. In this election, it did not happen. But this was the Supreme Court in the case of Oyetola versus Adeleke. So it's like when I say the presidency is up for grab for the highest stealer, for the highest bully, for the highest man, for the man who can bully the more, who can deploy more thugs, who can deploy more money, is because when it gets to the presidency, the Supreme Court does not look at the law. They look at the amount of money. They look at the person. They look at how it will benefit themselves, like making their own sons judges when they are going. That is what they look at. They don't do it when it comes to the issue of governors, because a governor will not promote, will not give them more salary. A governor will not approve of their sons from taking over from them. So you see, they don't care what happens at the level of the presidency, because the man will do a deal with them. So it is not the occupier of Aso Rock today that compromised democracy. They have been there. The only thing he did was that, being a part and parcel of the people who compromised our judiciary, he took advantage of it. He made a big deal with them. So the judgment they give in May is different from the judgment they are giving in October. Look at the appeal court that handled this case. Look at the way they are trashing people that forged certificates. Everything they uphold in trashing those people, they did not even care to consider it in the case of the presidency. What did that tell you? When it comes to the presidency, there is a standard. When it comes to other levels of politics, there is also a standard. That is why we believe that the judiciary is the biggest poison we have in our democracy. Not just this year, but tracing back to 2000 and to 1999. Look at Imo State. Look at the confused thing that the Supreme Court did in Imo State. You used your mouth to say APC did not field any candidate in the 2019 election. Yet, you did not order INEC to make sure that certificate of return is not issued to APC. Instead, you ruled that INEC should issue a certificate of return to APC and withdraw it from PDP that is already in power. The same APC your ruling said did not field a candidate. So who do we blame? Judiciary. Because when politicians saw this weakness in the judiciary, they put their leg on the accelerator and they exploit it to the biggest level. They exploit it to the level where it benefits them. And it has continued to be like that. And all I can say to us is this: it is unfortunate. But before we come back to tell us where do we go from here, let me wait for Ifeoma to give us some of the opinions, like Dele, what Dele is saying, and my friend Okonkwo.
Yeah, though, thank you very much for your analysis. You said something very striking before I put up that video. You know, Peter Obi told us that he went to the judiciary, he went to the Supreme Court to regain his mandate, that he has been there several times and he never gave anybody money. Not knowing that he was just considering, you know, a situation that has to do with governorship election. But from what you've said now, it means that that of the presidency is totally different. But Peter Obi was thinking that for the fact that he got victory when he was still contesting that of the governorship election, that it was 100% for these people to, you know, consider the prayers he put forward. So you can imagine the kind of power, the kind of influence, I mean, the level of influence from the presidency on these Supreme Court judges. Once it gets to this level of the presidency, my dear, it is difficult for you to get justice, no matter the number of evidence that you put forward. Somebody was saying that they said Atiku did not get the document he got from the United States, and he didn't bring it on time. He was supposed to have submitted it during the tribunal time, but he did not, because he didn't add it to the evidences that he had, that it's coming too late. And somebody said, even if Atiku had brought this thing before now, they will eventually find a way to knock it out. So there is a lot of influence coming from the presidency. And for me, I want to say that it would be a nice thing if Nigerians can agree and ensure that our electoral act is amended, especially in the aspect of ensuring that anything that has to do with court process or processes is brought to an end before swearing in. Because whosoever is sworn in and assumes power, have this great influence over the judges, and they will not want to work against whosoever is there. So you can imagine that now forgery is not even a sensitive issue in Nigeria. These judges would have seen this thing to say, oh, if we keep quiet over this, how is the international community, other countries, how would they look at us? They don't even look at the implication of this ruling that they gave. Will people have confidence? They say they want to, let's come together and build a Nigeria to move forward. They don't look at the image of Nigeria out there. How are investors going to be looking at us? Would they be able to confidently come to Nigeria with huge amounts of money to invest, hoping that should anything go wrong, our judiciary will stand up to the occasion to rescue them? Can you imagine? I watched a man that went to Truncated television, this human rights lawyer that has a YouTube channel. A foreigner came to Nigeria to invest in gold. He came with another black, with a Nigerian. They came, the person they met, they brought real money, I mean, huge amounts of money. They met the wrong person and gave their money to this person in the name of they wanted to transact, buy some gold that will be taken to South Korea. At the end of the day, this man disappeared. This man is supposed to be in court fighting for this, but he came to Truncated television. Can you imagine? Meaning that he doesn't even know who to come to his aid. That is the country we have today. So we are just, personally, I'm still shocked the way they ruled at this case. But let me allow us listen to what Mr. Dele Farotimi had got to say about Mr. Peter Obi, because people are saying that, why is Peter Obi quiet? Why is he not going to, why is he not calling for people to come out to protest? Why is it, they are just looking for him to say one thing now, and you see, they will go after him. The chairman for the Labour Party yesterday had a press conference, and he was already saying that there are plans, to a kind of drag him and Peter Obi using the security agents. So it is really a very sensitive time for somebody like Peter Obi and also some officials of the Labour Party. They've got to be careful, because we saw how they took power, the ex-EFCC man. They took him in and released him on the eve of the day that this final judgment was to be given. No, but they've not told us why he was arrested. They've not told us why they released him. So anything can happen in Nigeria.
In fact, there was a rumor that, suspending him does not mean that his appointment has been terminated. So, and they couldn't have appointed a new EFCC if he insists that his case will be terminated, will be concluded. So they forced him to resign so they can clear the path for the appointment of a new one. So somebody's saying as that was the deal. Just guy, resign and go. Because let's put it this way. I am one of those people who believe that even the Bauer, the AFCC guy, was not clean. His hands were dirty. But these guys don't care. It's like na turn by turn. Now you don't chop your own, move, let another person come. Nigerians would have loved to see him follow the rule of law and suffer for his and pay the price for his crimes. But you see, at the end, we are the loser. The guy did not pay for his crimes. any embezzlement, all the crimes he committed whilst in the office is gone. He's released. He's gone back home. He has given them what they want. They have brought in a new person. So at the end of it all, it's not them. Like day before yesterday, the analysts we featured day before yesterday says, all of us common Nigerians were here. All of them, they are together, not them. Judiciary, executive, legislature, the law enforcement agencies, they are together in one corner against us. Emefielu, whether he committed crime or not, Nigerians are interested in seeing him pay for his crime. But they don't even want him to pay for his crime. They just want to inflict pain on them and force them to resign. And they come to the level where they say, now you don't chop your own, make you waka they go. That tells you that the law enforcement agencies are just a tool in their hand. The judiciary is part of their revolving door, and we are just outside. And people who are saying, like, you remember what the likes of Mockery was, the nonsense is talking that Peter Obi can never be president. Who cares? That's not the emphasis here. Martin Luther King Jr. did not become the president of America, but today there are many Martin Luther King Jr. in the as governors in America, because that spirit of emancipation and the liberty of the black man and the impoverished people that Martin Luther King Jr. fought for has been liberated. The movement Obi started, which is called Obedient, would have outlived Peter Obi even if he became president. It's not about the man, Peter Obi. Even Peter Obi knew that it is not about him. Peter Obi knew that he has triggered something. Even the judiciary themselves, they know that it is never again the same. They can continue to muzzle us, but they know that they will not do it with the braggadocio they used to do it. They cannot do it with pride. None of those judges, nobody will stone them, nobody will beat them, nobody will do anything to them when they walk on the street. But I bet you, if they walk on the streets, they will be walking with shame. No, people will stand be looking at them as, oh, so now you do this thing. Let them not be afraid, because the kind of army Peter Obi is raising is not the one that will go and begin to burn their houses and co. But it is the one that will burn a heap of condemnation in you, that you have that food. You remember Judas in the Bible? He has the money, but he couldn't, the money choked him. The money choked. Did anybody stone him? No. Did anybody beat him? No. He went and hung himself, because what he did was something that self-condemnation alone will send them to the early place where they want to be. So let's go on.
Exactly what Peter Obi is doing right now. The only difference might have been that I would have been fronter in telling the people to start. I would have done exactly what Peter Obi is doing right now. The only difference might have been that I would have been fronter in telling the people to start preparing for the gridlock that will come after the Supreme Court might have found the idiocy to legitimize this. Peter Obi is a perfect gentleman. What you see is who he is. Me, if we were in a country where we have ideology-driven politics, if the people were citizens and their political sophistication was sufficient to have a clear understanding of choices, I'm not too sure that myself and Peter Obi would even be in the same party. He's a gentleman. He's more of a, I think Peter, if for want of a better word, is a progressive conservative. If Peter Obi came to a house and is defective, he will probably manage the structure and put all the right, he'll put the pillars and all the reinforcements where they should be. He will manage it and make it work. That's a Peter Obi. If you gave me the same building, I'll destroy the building first, I'll break it down, and then I'll rebuild it. I'll rebuild it the way I want it to be. He would manage the building and have it back in service. So our temperaments are not the same. But I am saying it with all emphasis. The strategic objective, the way he has taken his steps, go to court, like they said, avoid inflaming the country as he has done. That's exactly what I would have done. It's just that in my own case, I would have been frontal in telling the people, prepare for when the Supreme Court is done with its charity. That's the difference.
Prepare to do what?
That's what I've said. There are several options to what will come. But the one thing that is not going to happen is that I would accept a fraudulent pronouncement of the Supreme Court. I wouldn't. I would not. And I would be saying it from day one. I'm frontal about saying it because the issues are clear. But I'm not Peter Obi. And what he's doing right now is exactly what anyone who is not bent on a revolution like me would do. He is more of an evolutionist. He expects to drive the society to get to the point where it can then be turned around. Me, I do not believe that anything good can be done with this system. For me, it's irredeemably bad. But then what do I know? Peter Obi has been a governor. And even within this horrible system, he managed to produce results. Results that people are still pointing at years after he has left office. Results that were the very foundation of the movement that had been built behind him as a totem. So, he must be doing something right within the system that he has to work with. I can't knock what he is doing. That is his own style. Peter Obi is not the man who will tell people to go onto the street and start protesting unless he himself is going to step out onto that street to join the protest. When we get to the point where Peter Obi is announcing a protest, you should know that it will mean that the case has been sufficiently made and nobody is going to argue about the rationality of the call. But I'm not going to second guess him. And who knows, the Supreme Court justices might be the one who might just become the revolutionaries in Nigeria. You can never discount the place of magic. You can't discount it. All I know is you cannot preserve the existing legal order and validate Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidency.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
indeed.
the person of Peter Obi.
Indeed.
What do you have to say before we move over to the next?
Let us thank, like Nigeria should thank God for a man like Peter Obi. Because as I said earlier on, Peter Obi's mandate was stolen from him. We know that. Even the people who stole it knew that they stole it because they used the word to say, grab it and run with it. They grabbed it, they ran with it. And them as an evolutionist, according to Dele, hoping that they will one day exhaust their energy. And like the Igbo man will say, if you hold a child's tin and lift up your hand, when you're tired, you drop it, the child will collect it. That is the evolutionist method. But Dele is trying to say, no, if you hold my tin and you don't want to, I'll grab a stick and break your hand and collect my tin because it is my tin anyway. But we know that in 2011, somebody lost. And he unleashed on Nigeria his boys, his touts. And blood was flowing all over, even without going to court. Blood was flowing. Let's compare the two men. Whom would we rather have? Like Dele is saying, that man again can bully his way into power 4 years after and wrecked Nigeria in 8 years and handed over to the same system that brought him. But thank God for Peter Obi. That is the kind of person we are looking for. And that's the kind of person we have. And hopefully, that's the kind of person that will bring a permanent, long-lasting, stable Nigeria that we are looking for. So I vote for Peter Obi, even without being the president. I vote for his ideology. I vote for his philosophy. And I keep voting him because that is what is permanent and stable. That's what I have to say about that.
Let's take the second video that we know.
Were you surprised that the Supreme Court affirmed Bola Tinubu as president of Nigeria?
Well, one can say that the judgment of the Supreme Court may have clothed his presidency with constitutionality because Section 235 made it clear of the Constitution that the decision of the Supreme Court is final, but it has not clothed his presidency with democracy. Because democracy means the rule of the people, and it means that power must proceed only from the people. And let me tell you what the Supreme Court said. That is very telling. Justice John Inyango Koro, while delivering the judgment, he looked right to his colleagues and looked left. He said, let us admit that the non-uploading of the result on the IREF portal reduced the confidence of the people in the election.
Reduced, but didn't eliminate it.
Good. That is how the judges talk. Reduced means it wasn't as credible as it would have been if the law was obeyed that said you should upload on the IRF portal for the people to view. And this is in line with all the decisions of the international and local observers.
But not so lacking in credibility that it made them decide that they were going to go against the decision of the lower court.
What they said was, look, the only result we have is the one presented by INEC. We do not have alternative result presented to counter it. Now, let me tell you the implication of that. In mathematics, I did mathematics and I did advanced level mathematics. If you're given a mathematical question and you go straight to quote the answer, they will probably say you stole the answer. You must start with quoting the formula and giving the
statements. Statistics.
Good.
You've got to have the formula
before you give the answer.
Yeah.
You know what INEC did? They simply came and quoted an answer that somebody won the election against the express position of the Act. The Act said you have to compile, update, and maintain, polling unit by polling unit, all the results. And you must be ready to show it to any person or political party that demands it. And that is when you would now pronounce a winner. And I'm talking about section 62, subsection 2 and 3 of the Electoral Act. INEC did not. They just woke up one day at the dead of the night, 4:30 a.m., and declared an answer, which we did not know the formula or the statements that they arrived at to get that answer. So how can you tell the petitioners to produce polling unit by polling unit the result to prove their election, where the institution that is bestowed by the power, giving 400 billion naira to do that, failed to do it? And then you're asking, where will we get it from? The credibility of this election will forever be tarnished. And I agree with the Supreme Court that the confidence of the Nigerian people in this election was reduced. And for me, it was destroyed.
But can you, strictly from a legal point of view, do you broadly accept and respect the reasoning of the court in reaching its decision?
The court gives decision issue by issue. If you give me the question issue by issue, I will give you the answer issue by issue. But like I said, the Supreme Court is clothed with the cloak of finality. I disagree with their judgment, but I accept it as a Democrat.
Well, let's go through some of the points that Justice Okoro raised.
Okay, there is nothing going forward again. Kenneth has said it all. Disagree with everything they do it, but we don't have a choice because they are the finality. And that's to show we are more law-abiding than them, to even accept, despite our reluctance, what they have said, to be law-abiding. That's what we have done. Because taking it from the legal perspective, how can you really get an answer? You know it. You have a child. You say, go and show me your work. How did you arrive at 6 divided by 3? How is it in those days when you just quoted the 6 divided by 3 is 2? If you just write it like that, your teacher will say you copied from someone. Is it not true? Show me your work. And the work is the regulation. The work is the Electoral Act. The work is, you saw the previous judgment, Oyetola versus Adeleke, that we read here. You saw in that place. The Supreme Court quoted the formula and used the process of the formula to even arrive at the answer. But in the issue of the presidency, they just say, INEC has given me the answer and I must take it. Why? Because they are working in cahoots with INEC. Remember, from the time immemorial, we have said it, that the executive simply told INEC, declare the result and hand us over to Judiciary. We'll finish it there. Because the law permitted the INEC chairman to declare result and issue certificate of return, even if he did it in his bathroom or in his toilet. As long as he issues a certificate of return, the judiciary will finish the rest. And looking at the precedent of the judiciary in electoral matters from now back to 1999, especially in the cases we have mentioned, it's a done deal that the man who is already declared is not just like a lion having your food in the mouth. It's like a lion swallowing your food. You have to tear that tummy to bring it out again. It's unfortunate. We disagree, but we are law-abiding. What it means is that in our hearts, we are sitting down, but in our heart, we are standing up saying we disagree. But physically speaking, we are sitting down to accept, hoping that the evolution, according to Dele, the evolution of the kind of P2B's politics will indeed, we don't know how long it's going to take, bring us to where we are going. Because I am still also not going to be the advocate of violence. Violence, let me tell you, may not achieve much. You know why? Violence started Libya. Where is Libya today? Violence started Syria. Where is Syria today? When you see people who are bent on foistering themselves, when you go violently, they will open everything in their arsenal. They will massacre and they will still keep themselves in power. That is it in Syria today. Do you understand what I mean? But I believe that Peter Obi's method, even though it looks weak, just like Martin Luther, is evolutionary. And before you know it, you see these men who have sold their soul to money, self-condemnation will keep on eliminating them. They will keep going. And the time is going to come, just like pouring Coke in a glass and begin to pour water. Gradually, all the Coke will vanish. And that glass of water, that glass cup will become clear because only water will remain. Let us remain steadfast in what we are doing. And we'll get there. But that being said, let us move over. How far? Having done what Supreme Court has done yesterday, have they completely succeeded? Is it all over, or is something still cooking? What is happening in America? And what is the possibility of what is happening in America undoing them in a way they did not think or imagine? Let's listen to David Hundeyin.
Also specified that I haven't just been involved in
actually starting out a lot of what has become the conversation today. So can you please share with us some of your findings and what your thoughts are as to why there's been this pushback?
Well, it's clear. I mean, and I should also specify that I haven't just been involved in investigating the story. I'm also involved with the legal case as well. The FOIA case, that's the Freedom of Information Act case, which brought these FBI files to the fore in the first place, was something which was filed by Aaron Greenspan of Plainsight.org, who was working in partnership with me. In fact, I funded the case. So I'm not only sort of intimately aware of what is going on, I'm also a participant in the actual legal proceedings as well. It's very clear, I think, to anyone with a functioning pair of eyes and a brain between their ears, why the president's team is so desperate to throw everything but the kitchen sink in an attempt to impede the release of these files. Bear in mind, we call them the FBI files, but bear in mind, it's not just the FBI. There's 6 different government agencies involved in these lawsuits. The FBI, the CIA, the DEA, the IRS, the State Department, and the Executive Office of U.S. Attorneys, right? And of those 6, at least 2, that's the FBI and the State Department, indicated that they have so-and-so number of documents which they're going to release at the rate of so-and-so pages per month. So the FBI is 500 pages per month, but the State Department is 300 pages per month. And anyone who hasn't read the case summary can go to plainsight.org and just search Tinubu in the search bar, or Tinubu versus, search Greenspan versus Executive Office of U.S. Attorneys, because that's the name of the case, and you'll find all the relevant filings there. So you don't need to take my word for it. You can just go read it for yourself. Now, we obviously have spoken to people FBI agents who actually have some knowledge of what is in those files, some of which they're not, so as not to put people in trouble, let me not, say too much, because I'm not sure they're legally supposed to reveal what was in those files to us ahead of time. But suffice to say that what is in those files is definitely not pretty. And the little that we're aware of, specifically with regard to the 1993 drug trafficking investigation, is just one of the many things, regardless of how hard the ruling party will try and send people to, tell us that 2 + 2 is 22 and 1 + 1 is 9, and basically insult everyone's intelligence. If you've read those 1993 case files, then you'd have an idea of what the rest of these FBI files look like. And what you read in those case files is exactly what was there. It's not what somebody needs to explain to you that, oh, it was somebody forfeited $500,000 as an altruistic gesture. We're not here to insult people's intelligence. So again, just anyone who hasn't read these files can go read it yourself. The current president of Nigeria, which will be backed up when these files emerge on the 30th of October, is someone who has a background, in fact, in heroin trafficking. That's a fact. That's a documented fact. It's also a documented fact that the current president of Nigeria is someone who has a history of identity fraud, right? That's also a fact. And even without access to the FBI files, with just the case files from the Atiku versus Chicago State University case at the district court in Chicago, I think that there's already enough evidence there to suggest that is the case. So what I guess the reason why the release of these files is generating this much interest, both locally and internationally, is that this will be the, if you like, the icing on the top of the cake that will make it impossible to issue any sort of denial, which was why when you asked, do I want to respond to this or that, I said, I don't want to respond to it. It's a waste of my time. Today is October 26th. The files are coming out in 4 days' time. So why should I waste my time trying to argue something which, there's no need to argue it. What is written in black and white is written in black and white, and it's going to emerge soon enough. So why, I'm not in great health, so why waste the little energy I have trying to defend something that doesn't need defending? So you will see it soon enough, and it's going to raise further questions, because regardless of what the Supreme Court does, obviously we know what the Supreme Court is going to do today. They're going to do the exact same thing the appeal court did, find a technicality with which to dismiss the new evidence being introduced into the court and then declare Tinubu the winner. Newsflash. But regardless of what happens today, what these documents are going to do is that they are going to raise the issue of whether Tinubu's position is in fact tenable, politically speaking, going forward. Because to the best of my knowledge, in Nigeria's entire post-colonial history, it has never happened that a sitting head of state, whether military or civilian, a sitting head of state will have that degree and manner of scandal hanging over his head. To the best of my knowledge, not even Babangida had that level of scandal hanging over his head, and that was a very corrupt person. So this is many levels above anything we have ever had to deal with. And I think we're going to start seeing questions surrounding, for example, the possibility of impeachment. I know under the Nigerian political system, impeaching a sitting president is next to impossible, but these are conversations that are almost inevitably going to arise. They're going to start seeing conversations about prosecution in international courts. So if you recall, something similar to when the former president of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, when he got to a point when he was actually wanted internationally, he was the subject of an ICC investigation, and he actually couldn't travel freely. If you remember, on one occasion when he traveled on a state visit to South Africa, and he had to leave South Africa at short notice because he was notified that he was going to be arrested shortly, right? These things are possible, even if someone is a sitting head of state. These are issues, or the specters of these things are, inevitably going to be raised when the contents of these files become public in about 4 days' time. So, I guess all we have to do is just sit down and watch it play out.
Okay, we'll come back to
speak
more about this. Thank you so much, Dr.
Our credits to News Central for this time they had with David Hundeyin, a clip of which we played. News Central is also one of the news media that is working hard to make Nigeria a possibility. Thank you. So we come back to our video, this thing. Now, what David is trying to say here, three major things. Number one, this was recorded yesterday, just before the delivery of along the line when the judgment was being given. Like David too, he predicted we're not going to be surprised at what they will do. Secondly, he being the person who is not, this is not then tell me. David is the people who are handling this case. He has said it emphatically. From Monday, the file will start coming. FBI is only bringing about 500 per month. Another agency, 300 per month. So we are saying at least from David's mouth about 800 files per month. From Monday next week, being 30th of October. Thirdly, what he's trying to say is that just like in the case of Ibori, he couldn't be. The judiciary in Nigeria saw him as an angel, but he was picked up in Dubai, transported to UK, jailed in the UK. Al-Bashir of Sudan ran away because his crimes made it impossible for him to stay away from Sudan. We know how many presidents who cannot go out of their country because they know that the moment they step out of their country, they become persona non grata in such places. When Abacha was in power, he couldn't leave Nigeria. He was holed up in fact, he couldn't even move around Nigeria. He was holed up in Aso Rock. Most time he just traveled up to the airport and he goes back. Is that the kind of president you want to be? Is the kind of leader you want to be? Is that what makes you? In fact, what makes a king happy is the followership of his subject, the praise of his subject. When they say Kabio Isio, you know, all those people who comes to dance around you, the people that your followership is what makes you joyous. So you can stay in power and enjoy yourself. But much more than that is, if indeed what comes out of that file becomes something that would discredit the personality, the character, and the integrity of the man in the power, aside from the fact that even though our our legislature may not, because all of them are the same. Did you listen to the Senate Committee Chairman of Services yesterday, or day before yesterday, talking about the 160 million naira Land Cruiser they were to bought? They were asked in channels, is this not too much? What did he say? He said, but the executive are driving it, even the local government chairman, and it's always like that. And the interviewer said, is it not too much given the current situation? He said, the road is bad. If I go to my constituency 1 or 2 times, the vehicle will break down. This is the same road they gave us, that they use our money to buy the car that will make it comfortable for them to travel. We know in Nigeria today, some people who are still driving cars that is more than 20 years old, from Abuja to Okene, from Abuja to Lagos, from Abuja to Sokoto, from Abuja to Zamfara. But these men, they can't drive a car that is not mint 2023 model, worth 160 million naira. Please, 160 million naira times 108. What will he give us? Just give 160 million. This, my calculator is going to break. Just give me 160 million times 108. That will give us something about 17.2 billion. Okay? 17.2 billion divided by how much are they selling dollars today? Let's just say the I&E window is about 800 by 800. That is giving us $21.6 million. The president is going to borrow money, and the Senate is going to blow 21.6 million just to buy a car for their comfort. All right. That is $21.6 million for the Senate. Hold on. I give you that of the House of Rep. 360 men multiplied by 130 million naira. That will give us 48 billion divided by 800. That is 58.5 billion plus how many billion for the Senate? $1 million for the Senate. Which one is for the Senate? Okay. $58.5 million is what the House of Rep will blow on themselves. 58.1. Okay? Okay. How can these people who are enjoying this, I'm going somewhere, how can they impeach a president that is signing such, approving that money for them? It's not possible, because according to the analysts we brought there before, is it now them and us, the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, and all of them have the law enforcement agencies at their disposal to enforce their will. All right. But the implication in the international community is grave. It is challenging. It is daunting. Nigeria, pray for us, because if this file comes out and it is as indicting as it will be, more will happen on Nigeria's credibility by reason of the credibility of the person sitting in Aso Rock. I think it's almost 1 hour. We're going to draw it for here now. And when we come back next time, we continue from where we stop. Supreme Court may have ended, but this journey of a new Nigeria has just begun. Thank you, Nigeria, and do have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc, for your contribution. Honestly, we fought a good fight. Like I always say, we fought a good fight and we have won. No matter what the ruling was yesterday, no matter how you saw it. But for me, I think the obedient family, together with Peter Obi, we've won, because no doubt the politics in Nigeria is no longer the same. Things have changed and people have come to, get more information about Nigeria, about our constitution, the Electoral Act, and so many other things. And for me, this is a very big win on our part. So we are going to end it at this point. I want to say a very big thank you for joining us. Please do well to like this video so that YouTube can recommend it for more people to watch. Subscribe to our channel. Let's build a stronger bond. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. When you click on that notification bell, it shows you different options. You choose the all so that you'll be able to see all our updates. And with this, we want to say thank you for your time. And don't forget to also surprise us, give us a super sticker or a super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you for joining us, and God bless you. Doc, thank you for all your contributions.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks.